right, gang. Get out your boomsticks. Get ready for a real groovy time because we're headed out to the old cabin. I'm your host, the Book of the D, Daniel Ehrenberg. And over here on my left in cyberspace is the H Dog on the GSP. I like to say it now. I've stolen that from you, Henry Papali.
I like that. I like that you're saying it's fine. You're introducing me anyway. What I do need you to do, if you don't mind, it's just a little favor. If you can't do it, I understand. Since you're so good at coming up with, the names, the monikers, give me a shot every once in a while. Try. It's harder. I have a harder phonetic to deal with.
H is a weird letter.
I know. It doesn't you can use it. You D with dead. See, it's perfect. Like I give it a, you can give it a shot though.
D also rhymes with a lot of stuff.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. But you can always use HP or hap.
Happy slappy.
Whatever. Yeah. It's in your court.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get out of the court and into the cabin, Henry.
Yeah, episode 230 of the franchise. Welcome, world. We are today's election day.
Oh, when this is released? Yeah, I hope everybody's out there voting. I sure will be. I have to go to Long Island and out to the polls at my old elementary school.
You didn't do a mail-in?
No, I'm just going on the day.
Wow. I voted about a month ago.
Yeah, most people did, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've handed in all the ballots of my residents in the building.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah. All right, Henry, The Evil Dead. This was requested by Kyle Padovano, our erstwhile friend, I mean, patron of the arts. And
why is he erstwhile?
Look, he has formed a reputation, I believe. He requested Children of the Corn earlier this year.
Oh,
and that was a rough month for all of us to get through. I think listeners and hosts alike.
Yeah. We may have lost some people in Antigua.
But you know what? This is what we do. That's why you have to be a patron, gang. You sick of the Kyle Padovanos of the world fucking up your podcast? Get in there. Patreon.com/thefranchise. All right. So this fella's dropped another mound of cash on us. And actually 2 mounds of cash. He's got another one later this month. But he's trying to redeem himself. He has requested a short horror franchise that everybody likes, that is very popular, that has been requested many times by listeners, and was an early something we talked about when we formed the show.
Yep, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about why I think it's a weird franchise, but a set of individual very good movies, which is something I realized.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I had realized I had seen Evil Dead 2 only once, and I've seen the remake, and I've seen Army of Darkness ages ago, but I have never seen the first Evil Dead.
A lot of people think they've seen the first one because they've seen the second one. Yeah. Because the second one's not really a sequel. It's kind of just a remake of the first one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I have questions for you about it. But, I think I've answered them myself. But still, yeah.
I honestly have more questions than answers about it. Because I had seen Evil Dead 2 many times and seen Evil Dead 1 twice, maybe.
Okay.
And then... they had the TV show on Starz for 3 seasons, Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I watched every ep, and there's a lot of continuity on that show, as you might imagine, because it's serialized and it deals with the earlier movies. And it seems to me that because different events happen in the first and second movies, but the
Right.
show references both movies.
Okay.
So I'm very confused now by the show. I want to go
And you,
back and rewatch it.
yeah, because you had told me last week on air or no, off air that to watch we're going to be covering the first episode of that show next week.
Yeah, which is the
The
only one written and directed by Evil Dead creator Sam Raimi.
Oh, okay. And I found that on Netflix. So if anyone else wants to watch along with us, that's
Great.
all on Netflix. But so you had said that happens after Army of Darkness. I assume that's still kind of that is correct.
Oh, dude, I mean, by the time they did Ash versus Evil Dead, it was like 2011, 2012. I mean, Bruce Campbell
I
looks
know,
old as fuck.
No, I know, but I didn't know if it kept the continuity.
Yeah. No, it's totally down with continuity, that show.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
right.
Like the actress who plays Ash's sister in the original movie shows up in
Yeah.
as that character on the show.
Saw that. Yeah, yeah. Very strange.
Very strange. All right.
Of Raimi.
Yeah, Raimi's a wild one, man. It's weird.
We'll be ranked next week.
Yeah, we will. We will. But let's talk about him. So,
Sure.
we're discussing very nascent Raimi. He went on to huge things. It's kind of amazing that this is the first time we're talking about him because he's such a franchise guy.
Yeah, he really is. You're right. But the franchises that he does are stuff we were going to get to, obviously.
Of course, but
Yeah,
it's weird that it took us until the 200s for one of them to show up on the show. And
Yeah,
we
it's true.
both like Sam Raimi as a director.
Me
He's
too.
an interesting creature, a very unique guy. I remember when Spider-Man first came out. My dad watched it on television or something, and he had some complaints about it. And basically, everything he complained about to me, I was like, "Yeah, it's a Sam Raimi thing." He
Yeah.
can't turn that off.
Right. And I had when I saw Spider-Man, I had seen obviously I'd seen a lot of his movies, I guess. Or I've only seen about 11 of his movies. I mean, he hasn't made many more than that.
No, he's not the most prolific guy ever. I've seen all of his movies except for Crime Wave, which is the one that he made in between the two Evil Dead movies that tanked real bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. But I remember when I saw Spider-Man thinking, I loved it. And the only Raimi type things that I thought about, I really just thought about sort of Darkman. And I thought about he's just a quirky guy. I hadn't really ever in 2002, I don't think I'd ever really analyzed or gotten into what type of director he was.
It's the way he moves the camera, it's the angles, it's the way he'll cut to somebody in the crowd going "What's that?" Or
Right,
I mean,
He's
even
great,
Spider-Man web swinging in that movie, he shoots it like it's the fucking Dead point of view in Evil Dead.
Yeah, he does. You're right. And as not having seen Spider-Man in a long time, when I watch it again at some point, it'll be very cool to look at it now fully as a Sam Raimi film, which is, of course, an obvious statement to say, I guess, but I hadn't just never really thought of it like that. I think the Raimi-ness, unfortunately, of Spider-Man really didn't hit me as a contemporary viewer till Spider-Man 3.
Well, I think
That's
that's
when
kind of why I like Spider-Man 3 more than most people. Because I'm sort of down to just sit there for 2 hours and watch Raimi being Raimi.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I might be this time. I certainly wasn't at the time.
Let's find out, gang. Maybe. No spoilers for the franchise. All right. The Evil Dead by Samuel Raimi. I was surprised he had sole writing credit on this. I was expecting to see a Ted Raimi or somebody.
He was too busy showing up as a simple shemp. What do they call it?
Fake shemp, yeah.
A what?
A
What
fake
shemp?
shemp.
Right, fake shemp.
All right, so this film God, the release date is weird. It's so hard to talk about. It was a really just like shoestring indie. So like it was first shown in 1981 in October of 1981 at like a small screening in Michigan, where they attracted the attention of a fella, Shapiro. What's his name? Irving Shapiro.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were going to say somebody else.
No, the fella who runs the
Yeah,
Cannes
yeah.
Film Festival was at that
Yes,
screening,
yes.
and he brought the movie to the Cannes Film Festival, and then a bunch of people loved it there. It was one of those movies that just grew. Like the film was made in like the summer of '81, I think, or '80 even, and then it was released finally in wide theaters in '83.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, and I thought I read a whole bunch. Oh, wow. Wow. All right. Because they just still credit it as 81. Which,
yeah.
I mean, I guess makes sense, but if more, not more than
Most
700
people saw it
before.
in '83. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that means that when Evil Dead 2 came out, people really had only kind of digested it and waited for 4 years.
Still a long wait, though.
It is, but it's not 6,
Yeah,
which
true.
impacted my thinking of how it was created, the second one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this they raised $400,000 for this movie in a unique way. Sam Raimi and his friend Bruce Campbell, they made a short film called Within the Woods, which was like a short version of The Evil Dead, and they then shopped that around to like their relatives and friends just to like show them like we're actually real, like we can actually make a movie, and they ended up raising $400,000.
Did you ever see that?
No,
It's like really short, right? Is it even?
I think it's like a half hour. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah.
Then the original title was The Book of the Dead, which they were made to change because the distributors thought that it sounded boring. Like you can't release a movie in America with the word book in it. People won't see it.
It's true, Philosopher's Stone. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Now you can, even if they know it won't do good. You can call a movie The Book Thief.
Did that make money?
The Notebook.
Oh, that was big, man. But it's a notebook, man. People can digest that.
It's true. Cliff Notes. If there was a movie called Cliff Notes,
People would love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If it was called The Epic Novel, no one's going. All right.
Yeah.
Raimi was 20 years old. I want to stress that. Insane.
That is nuts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And the film ends up coming out in '83. It made $29.4 million worldwide, which is very, very respectable.
Jesus.
And in America, it came in at number 121 at the box office. Between two movies I've never heard of. I thought maybe you have. One of them's called Tough Enough.
Yeah, that's shitty. Wait, is it Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster?
No, you're wrong. You're wrong about this one for once.
You know why I thought it was that one? That they're in a shitty movie in the 80s where they play buddies, and that shitty song, Are You Tough Enough? Down. Darn it. Yeah.
Can you sit back from the mic a little bit,
Okay.
Henry, and
Yeah.
please sing that song again? Because I loved it, and I just want like a clean version on record.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And
I don't
make
want to
sure
sit back too much because
no,
I've been told.
Go sit back a little bit, and please do the bow that you did at the end. Don't
Okay.
skip that part.
Okay.
Okay, go.
I ain't tough enough. Bow, down, down, bow. Are you tough enough? Bow, down, bow.
All right, someone please isolate that audio and send it to me. I want to make it my ringtone. Is that still a thing? Can you make your own ringtone?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That was very popular for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I have ringtones, but I didn't make them.
Yeah. Remember that Office storyline where Ed Helms made his own ringtone and then Jim hit it in the ceiling and he freaked out?
It's one of the best episodes ever.
Yeah,
One of the
that's the
best pranks
classic.
ever.
Yeah. All right. So do you know what Tough Enough is?
No.
All right. It looks like it's Dennis Quaid as a boxer.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, he's actually an aspiring country western singer who boxes for cash.
Out.
Sounds good to me. I'd watch it. Then we have it was on the other side was Man, Woman, and Child. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, I have it here.
Okay.
Looks like Martin Sheen and Blythe Danner. All right. What a box office hit that must have been. A man with a wife and 2 daughters learns that he has a son. It seems that a few years ago, while visiting France, he had an accident, and he had an affair with the doctor who treated him. Now he has learned that she just died and is informed of his son.
Wow.
That sounds so boring, dude.
What a strange period for actors that were around that age, the Blythe Danner, the Martin Sheens. You know, the 80s were just like this depth of
Third build, by the way, Craig T. Nelson.
Nice. God, just a weird decade for people of that ilk who were like killing it in the 70s. And then the 80s, they were just lost.
What do we do? What is happening?
Yeah.
What are these stop motion gleep glops everywhere? All right.
Yeah.
So this film did well, Henry. It was even nominated for an award that year.
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for that. What award?
I'll tell you what, Saturn Awards, Ready for Business on Evil Dead.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I'm going to need you to
It
talk
won an award at the Saturn Awards.
I didn't even, how far do they go back?
To the 70s. Because I think Blackula won an early Best Horror year.
I always forget that. Saturn
is between Uranus and Neptune. Saturn World Sci-Fi Best of Films.
By the way, Aussie Scott's been singing that while he's been doing dishes a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that.
I sometimes find myself mindlessly singing your themes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've told you, sometimes I have them in my head when I'm at work, and it's actually extremely annoying. I want to not have them in my head, but...
I find the Razzie is the one I sing the most in my daily life.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got that swing to it.
Yeah, I guess I'm usually in a pretty good mood, and so I'm walking around the raspberry.
It's got that fat backbeat going on.
You better believe it, man. When people think of Henry Papali, they think fat backbeat.
They think of slipping up yes, man. That's right. Slipping up yes on the Razzies, man. Slipping the bass.
Feels like a small part of me died.
Slipping the bass. Yeah.
Great. There was an award, Best Low Budget Film, and the Evil Dead one.
Oh.
Yeah.
God.
All right.
I like these Saturn Awards. I really do. They're like, they remind me a little bit of us.
I know. I like the cut of their jib.
Yeah. They were probably like us when they started, except we don't have famous people or make any money. But they probably were like us, just like, let's do these things that nobody else is going to give credit to.
Here's what I picture. I picture that the early Saturn Awards are in like a hotel conference room. They can't even afford the ballroom. They have a podium on the screen, and I feel like they hired a host, maybe, like the guy who, I mean, I don't know, someone who's in like one memorable episode of The Twilight Zone. And
well, they got a dying Burgess Meredith.
No, they weren't able to get Burgess. That was first choice. All right. Evil Dead, Henry. The Evil Dead. I cannot forget the.
Yeah, I know. I never knew it was that. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a pretty simple movie. 5 Michigan State University students head to a cabin. You've got Ashley, played by Bruce Campbell,
Yep.
and his girlfriend.
It's confusing.
It is so fucking confusing. I had to consult the IMDb because the wiki plot trivia did say like his girlfriend Shelley and his. So I was like, ooh, that's helpful.
Yeah, I was trying. I think I figured out. See, I never thought that the one who gets possessed first. I didn't think that was his sister. I thought it was his girlfriend's sister. No. Somebody's a sister. Clearly, there's the lone person, but I didn't know whose sister.
Ash has a sister. She's the tall, thin one with very bird-like features who I was attracted to. Then there is his girlfriend, who's frankly a bit of a heifer, and Ash could do better. Then there's he's got like a male friend, Scotty, who's sort of like a brash guy in the way Ash is in the later Evil Dead movies. Like Ash is much more mild-mannered in this first one.
Yeah,
I was very surprised.
Yeah, he's got the hair. That wasn't what I was expecting.
There was one fucking scene where Ash is like okay, that other dude does like a prank or something.
Yeah.
And and the girl, his girl, like runs away crying or whatever.
Yeah.
And Ash turns to him and goes, "Come on, man, you know you take things too far." And I'm like, you know you're Ash, right?
See, it was good for me because I knew where the character would go, but not as well as you or a lot of the fans. So I was like, this is kind of cool. I didn't know I was ever going to get a version of Ash this mild-mannered, and it was very rewarding because then he starts a completely different way.
I was confused by that, though, also because of the television show, which pretty much depicts Ash as that, like, the trauma of what happened to him in the cabin didn't do this to him. He was always kind of this way. And his father on the TV show is played by Don Johnson. Or not Don Johnson, Lee Majors.
Lee Majors is still alive?
I believe so.
Wow.
I think he was the father. Did I make that up?
I don't know. No, I'm sure you're right. I just thought the Bionic Man was dead.
He's still he's still alive. He was in 8 episodes of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and he's a mere 81 years old, Henry.
Oh, all right. He's got another 9 years. By the way, R.I.P. Sean Connery.
He's got another 9 years. I love Sean Connery died at 90, so now we're like, that's the age. That's where you want to die.
That is a good run. Yeah, Connery, man. R.I.P. I know our fans were bummed about that. I kept seeing a lot of Bond movies showing up on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I did too. Somebody watched Thunderball, which confused me. What do you think Connery's best performance non-Bond is?
What do I think?
Yeah, well, what's a favorite of yours? Because Sean Connery just fucking died. That is crazy. Let's talk about it for a second.
I mean, obviously, I love him. Love him in The Untouchables. I love him in the fucking Man Who Would Be King.
Yeah, I love that movie too.
He's amazing in that movie. I mean, those are two that just pop into my head like immediately. I know a lot of people love him in The Hunt for Red October, but I just never really liked that movie. But he was good in anything. I liked Finding Forrester. I loved seeing him in that.
Ooh, you're the man now, dog.
That's right, dog. But I mean, I never did see ever Marnie.
That's good. I'm a fan of John Borman's Zardoz, if I may add that to the mix.
That's cool, and I never saw that, and it's Borman too, so I really would. I should.
I also am a Highlander guy. I love him in that first Highlander. I will bring up the delightful film Entrapment. I will
very
bring
fun.
I will bring up the very racist but very fun movie Rising Sun. I
Yes. Yeah, he's great in that. And,
Yeah.
Oh, and one of my latter-day favorite Connery performances with one of your favorite actors of all time. Connery is fucking awesome in The Rock.
Oh, totally the fucking Rock. Yeah.
He's so good.
What are we leaving out? What's like an early? There's like a few really early good Connery back when he was like young and handsome.
I mean, for me, the Bond movies, I didn't see a lot of those 50s I mean, Bond really brought him into those other 60s roles as far as I know. I mean, I could look them up, but you're doing that. So,
I am doing it. Let me just real quickly go through a couple that I enjoy, Henry.
I love in The Rock when he's hanging upside down from a mine shaft and Nicolas Cage goes, are you okay? And he goes, yes, I'm perfectly fine, you fucking idiot.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The man's a legend. He's a fucking legend, true legend that we don't get to say that too often when we do our RIPs. But
hey, how about previous episode, Henry? Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
You know what? Whatever anyone thinks of that movie, he's great in that little movie. I like him.
A delight, Henry. A pure delight. And I have never seen Time Bandits, but I know people have affection for that movie too.
Okay, I haven't either. Yeah. All
right.
right.
Oh
Connery.
God, we both haven't seen that. Now we're gonna get people going like, you should watch Time Bandits. Terry Gilliam is revolutionary.
I forgot that was Terry Gilliam. Yeah. Is that your impression of when fans tell us to watch stuff?
Some fans.
Some fans.
Not the cool ones, man.
They know who they are.
They know who they are. All right.
Good.
So there's 5 MSU students going. I know the MSU fight song, kind of. I had an ex who went to MSU, and she would sing the fight song sometimes, and I would make fun of her because she got tone deaf on the last note. Like, it would be perfect, and then the last note would always sound wrong to me.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Anyway, memories. Okay, they're going to this cabin in the woods. And they have to cross a bridge to get there. The bridge gets knocked down. They go into the basement and they find the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, and they find that the cabin used to be inhabited by what was he, like an archaeologist?
Yeah, I assume that's as good as anything to call him, an archaeologist. Sure. Yeah. He's
found the Necronomicon and a torn Hills Have Eyes poster and put them in his basement.
That was very, very funny addition, and even more ridiculous when you think about if an archaeologist was the previous inhabitant. I'm thinking the Hills Have Eyes poster was the previous inhabitant.
It actually, this is something Henry talks about. Henry doesn't like movie posters in movies because it takes him out of the movie.
Was the first time I said that at Scream?
You said this in Scream 2 because Wes Craven put up Wes Craven movie posters in the horror film classroom.
I think that's what I don't care for and the meta stuff, but I've never objected to it. I don't think since. I think it's usually pretty funny.
I gotta be honest, I didn't like this. I forgot about the Hills Have Eyes poster.
It's not necessary at all.
It's a shout out or whatever, but I just, in the reality of the movie, it's like this mystical cabin.
You know what I think it is? This was my opinion when I watched it, and it still is. I think when they were making the movie, there was still a very strong chance that Sam Raimi was just like, nobody's probably going to end up seeing this beyond a small contingent of a few thousand people. and I'm gonna just put it in there. Who cares?
I totally
You know?
disagree. This
Really?
he had $400,000 to make this movie, which was enormous for a 20-year-old in
but
1981. And I mean, do you know about how the making of this movie was like insane?
oh yeah, yeah, sure. But that even lends more to it. Like
I just don't think he'd go through with it if he didn't really mean it. Like I think he saw this movie like he was staking his entire life on this movie.
Well, then that could be more reason to be like, fuck it, man. I'm throwing in this poster. I mean, it's weird because like if I made a movie, or like if you and I made a movie and we actually thought it would be Seaway Fuel, I highly doubt we'd throw in like a little Squid and the Whale poster in the background or a Royal Ten. We wouldn't do it, I mean, but we might throw in. What if we wanted to throw in like a fucking Jaws reference in the weirdest, most? I mean, we might do something like that.
Well, I made a movie when I was 19. Let's not talk about it. But I was in it, and I put myself in a lot of band T-shirts because, like, I'm making a movie. I'll put bands that I like in it.
I would do that.
Yeah.
I would totally do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. It's also kind of like a bold move, almost, if you really think about it, to like want to pay homage to Wes Craven in like
Yeah.
your student film, like I'm like passing the torch to me, 20-year-old Sam Raimi.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm not going to disagree. It is weird. I just it didn't bother me. I didn't have a feeling about it one way or the other. I didn't think it was awesome, but I just didn't. I kind of ignored it and just kind of chuckled, and then I did. But you see it more than once. It like
It's
come
in
back.
the set of
Yeah.
the basement, which is a really important set in both
Yeah.
movies, and I did
Yes.
notice that it disappeared in the second one.
I didn't see it in the second one. Yeah. It's weird. But I got to say, I just want to point out, as we're going through the movie, because we've started the plot, I had no idea. I vacillated on this movie so much. There was like a period where I was sort of like at a 2 and a 3 and a 2 and a 3, and I was kind of going back and forth and back and forth, and then it kind of just slowly was building on me what was happening, not even plot-wise, but just how fucking creative it was, and just nuts, and it just really it shot up, but it took a while because it's
Well, walk
really,
us through it more because I'm interested. Because this is your first time watching the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I guess because at the very beginning, it gave me a sort of in the car when they're driving, it gave me a bit of a Texas Chainsaw vibe, and I was like, oh man, like boy, this is really rough. Like I didn't know that it was this rough. Like it's just the way it's shot. It's poor grain, poor not great celluloid and all that. And
Yeah.
But what started then it started to turn. Because I realized that what I kind of thought wasn't very good acting was sort of suitable, even though I think it probably wasn't very good. Not by Campbell. We'll get to him later. But like, it was kind of suitable. And then when the angles of the camera started to be used, like the Dutch angles,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, so this honestly isn't some Texas Chainsaw thing we're going through here. This is a completely different beast, and some of and then the animatronic stuff and stop motion or whatever I guess stop motion probably not, and it was so self-contained in this tiny environment, and I just kept noting that, and it's like ambitious in this sort of its own nucleus. It doesn't expand physically outward really anywhere, and I just thought that was really cool, and I was like, okay, this guy really knows what he's doing, and it's not going even the parts there. Well, there's one scene I'm sure we'll talk about, there's shock value but didn't seem like he was just going for that. He's really like interested in trying these weird fucking things, and he's like already Sam Raimi, just fucking out there, and that's what started to go with me. And he keeps it tense, and it was not as much of a comedy as I was led to believe, or maybe pop culture had led me to believe.
Because the second one is a comedy.
Yeah, but
It's
even
like-
the second one has still got.
No, the second one is tense and involving, but like I do think that it's a little bit the difference between like Alien and Aliens. It's like Sam
Yeah.
Raimi using like the same basic concept to make two different kinds of movies.
Yeah, and so by the time we were towards the end and like the final 25 minutes, not exactly 30, but like I was like, oh fuck, all right, like this is the real deal. I mean, this is a balls out fucking movie. And but it's one of those movies I'm watching, which we cover not all the time, movies like this, where I did say to myself, this is definitely an acquired taste. Like I could see somebody giving this movie 5 stars, which most I think people do who are fans, but I could absolutely see people giving it a 1. And,
Somebody did. One of our listeners I saw gave it 1. Was it
Sinisa.
Sinisa? Yeah.
And I get it. I get that.
I
That's
kinda
not
do
me,
too.
But yeah.
I don't know. Look, to me, the reason this is sort of Sam Raimi clearly designed this to be his first movie, and what he's trying to do here is make a short hour and 25-minute thing, and say, this is not like anything you've ever seen before. Like I have ideas that haven't been done. And that's so rare, especially in the 1980s. And
Yes.
so, like, it's really exciting. And especially in the horror arena, which had sort of, like, it's basically like Supernatural or slashers or like Giallo. Like, they're their own little modes that movies fit into. And, like, I don't think anybody but, like, Dario Argento had done anything so purely original in the horror genre.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Halloween, but that's kind of it's kind of perfecting.
What Black
Something
Christmas had done.
Yeah, it's kind of perfecting something, and it is perfection. But but this is really just a fucking completely out there. And I was thinking about this too, and I wrote it down thinking, writing about it, because I think it's a cliche, but sometimes it's just true. And maybe it's just the case with movies, about how people say, and we say, this is not the first movie you and I have covered where we've said, there's been nothing like this before, nothing like this has ever been done, and maybe that's just the way certain great filmmakers are. There are a lot of those. There are a lot of those that are groundbreaking, and in its way, this one is too. It's just it is, and you're more familiar with Argento than I am. I think I've only seen like 1 or 2 films, but
I mean, yeah, you should watch a couple others. But Raimi to me is like no one was ever able to copy him either. Like his movies are their own thing. And it's interesting because some things that he pioneered have made it out into the mainstream in different forms. Like, if you look at something like Evil Dead and see the way he's doing, like, Looney Tunes physics in live action, like, and then watch, like, Who Framed Roger Rabbit from a few years later, like, Zemeckis might have seen this fucking movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that is also something I failed to mention, which of course you did, which is you haven't seen anything like it because it's from the mind of someone who's very singular. Like this is a voice. This isn't some guy coming on to direct a Friday the 13th sequel. This
Friday
is a
the
guy.
13th?
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who's going to complete his own vision. So it is very much like seeing a Stanley Kubrick film for the first time, or a Scorsese, or this guy's like, oh, okay, I've never seen fucking this before. Nobody's tried any of this shit.
It's insane. Yeah, it's insanely rare to see a director with a singular vision who can also execute that vision on screen at a low budget. Do you understand how rare that is?
Yes. Me? Yes.
I mean, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and he also, I was happy with the way it turned out because, we've talked about this, how a lot of horror movies that go for that vibe of really goofy just don't do it for me. But this is so fucking off the charts. I don't think it's perfect.
The first one.
Yeah, we'll get to the second one. We'll get there.
I don't think the first one's perfect either.
Well, I think the first and the second one have a similar issue. It's almost identical, but we'll get there. But anyway, even though it's a short movie, I do think some of the stuff feels like it runs its course a little long, which makes it funny, but it can be a tad exhausting.
I feel that way in the first one.
Yeah.
It runs out of energy a little bit at times. It's not like a perfectly constructed hour and 25 the way I feel the second one is. But
I didn't care at all.
It would have been nice, since there are 5 characters in the movie, to care about someone at all. Because even if I think I mostly cared about Ash through osmosis from having watched the other ones for so long. But
also it's Bruce Campbell too, man. That's the revelation for me. This fucking guy, I've seen him obviously throughout my life, but I was always kind of one of those guys on the sidelines seeing him oh yeah, that's that guy that all the nerds love. He's the big, I don't know. I'm not a fucking, me. I'm not a fucking Bruce Campbell. But I get it. He's so fucking cool. He's got that ridiculous face with that jawline, I kept thinking how Tim Burton or somebody didn't get him in a superhero movie, as the lead.
I mean, I guess just because of box office. He was always kind of on the fringes, never really doing mainstream stuff until late in life, actually. I think, the first time I ever saw him in something that, people in the world really knew about was Burn Notice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on fucking Burn Notice.
Very strange. But
my dad was my dad watched Burn Notice. He was like, who's this guy? I was like, he's been around a long time.
It's weird, and I don't know anything about the guy. I'm actually pretty interested in learning that, because he seems like he's a very cool person.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where I feel like he disappeared into the nerd thing. I think he's just sort of understood this is my lot in life. This is who I am now. I'm a goofy guy with the big chin, and I'm going to make weird stuff. Yeah. And I sort of lost interest in him for a while, but I think as he's become older, he's become a lot more self-aware. And he never stopped being good in movies.
Well, yeah, and and a funny thing was, I remember when I saw Spider-Man, and he's the ring announcer.
He's in all 3 of them as different characters, yeah.
Right. And when he was the ring announcer, that's a perfect distillation of what I knew of him. He came on, and I was like, oh, holy shit. It's a fucking goofy guy who's in those crazy zombie movies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who he is.
And I loved it, but I didn't, make any real connection. Had I had that behind me, it would have been fucking awesome. That must have been awesome to see him in Spider-Man as
Yeah, it was fun. It probably meant more to me by the time Spider-Man 2 came out, just when I got into these movies. But it was fun that and weird that the Evil Dead guy was making the Spider-Man movies, and then to see the other Evil Dead guy pop up in them, it was cool.
Okay, now
No. Bruce Campbell. I mean Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Sorry. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It was exciting.
Because there is another actor who does pop up in one of the Spider-Man movies.
Who, Hal Sparks?
No. Not in this one.
Who are you referring to?
I can't tell you. It's part of the superhero count, which was specially requested by Kyle Padovano for this
that's
episode.
right. Fucking superhero count's coming back.
So everybody happy. You're getting it.
We'll all sit through it. It's all right.
Oh, they love it.
All right. So, I mean, have you ever seen Bubba Hotep?
No. And, because I just didn't think it would be for me. I just didn't.
Probably like it, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the first time we're not there yet, but it's as good a time as any to say it. I mean, the first time I watched Evil Dead 2 was Halloween night. I was with podcast friends, Nathan Sherwood and Aaron Farinelli, and we were at Nate's house, and they were so fucking into this. They wanted to put this on. That
was Lord Awesome in its entirety.
What's that?
That was Lord Awesome in its entirety. I want to say, yeah,
that's right. I think we had just formed. It was either 2005 or 2006. Doesn't matter, but that's how long in life I hadn't seen. So they insisted on putting this fucking movie on. So I was like, okay, all right. And I feel so bad because these guys were so into it, and Nate is even owned like a actual
Necronomicon.
Yeah, like the actual fucking replication of it. And I was really trying to be enthusiastic, and I could not I just didn't understand it. I was like, how in any way is this fun? And once the zombie started dancing with her heads falling off and she's throwing her head around, these guys are loving it, and I'm just like, I don't get it.
You have to give in to the tone.
Yeah, and I wasn't willing to do that 15 years ago.
Don't feel bad though, because when you're in a group of 3 and 2 dudes who are into a movie force the other one to watch it, that's a fucked up situation, and I am against it. And I've been in it many fucking times, multiple times, being forced to watch The Big Lebowski. And
not me. I never made you.
No, you never did, but many did.
Yeah, and actually, it wasn't just the 3 of us. Our respective girlfriends were all there too. So God knows what they were doing. I don't even remember if they were even paying attention or into it, or they like got me. And
were Nathan's and Aaron the ones they are still with to this day? Wow.
No, you know what? I believe yes, Nathan. Yes. I think Aaron may have been single.
Oh, wild. I can't even picture that.
I was with somebody. It was like me, Nate, and another couple, and then Aaron, and I think, yeah.
R? Were you with R?
I believe so, yeah. Yes. Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
Letter R. Yes.
Yeah. All right. I mean, anything more you have to say about this first Evil Dead? I do wish that the characters were like a tad more fleshed out.
Yeah, I mean that would help, but we're so used to that though, aren't we, buddy? I mean, we're used to that. We've covered so many of these horror movies where they're just not. I mean, in almost every horror
but most horror movies are bad. Like to me, like I'm watching this movie and I'm enjoying it, and I'm like, what is it about this movie that I'm enjoying so much when I don't care about the characters? And it really is one of those movies where like the director is the star.
He is the star. I mean, it's Campbell in the second half, and it's Raimi. I mean, it really, really is. I mean, I agree with you. I guess I'm thinking of the horror movies like Children of the Corn, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, which I think you cared about. But I mean, like, Friday the 13th even. Do we really that much care about? I mean, a lot of
care about Ginny. Shut the fuck up. We care about Wheels.
Well, we definitely cared about Wheels because I got a coronary at that scene laughing.
R.I.P. Wheels.
Yeah, R.I.P. R.I.P. Franchise, great moments in franchise history.
That would be. I think When I die, I would like somebody to cut together a great moments in franchise history, and I hope the highlight of the whole situation is us laughing at a guy dying of AIDS.
It's got to be the end, right? So if it's like it's gonna be a long reel, so it'd be like 40 minutes, and that has to be the last joke. It's got to be the cut.
Yeah, I would think so. That's what I want to go out on. It's what I want to be remembered for.
I mean, Mr. Belvedere is sitting on his nuts if you include Patreon stuff.
Wait, we didn't get that. It was in the lost episode.
Yeah, but I looked for it. I looked for it. It's there, but it is kind of.
We talked about the urban legend of Mr. Belvedere sitting on his testicles. Henry learned about it for the first time.
That was a tough 3 or 4 minutes for me. Yeah. Yeah. Then I read the whole story on the internet, the entire thing.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real, but how it's been told, so many people claiming it that they
Yeah.
would, and the only one to ever really set it straight seems to be Doug Benson.
Yeah, you're right. Doug Benson seems to know what's up.
Yeah. He's like, hold up, I know the story.
Because he was in the audience.
He was in the audience.
Doug Benson was actually in the sitcom audience watching that.
Okay, I didn't read that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like at first it said it was Sandler who was in the show or something, and he wasn't even there. Sandler heard it from someone else, and then that person...
Sandler heard it from somebody, and Sandler told it to Jay Moore, who put it in his book.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm grateful to him for putting it in his book to at least start the conversation.
Jay Moore, ever a master at stealing other people's material? All right.
But, we should, want to talk, I mean, there's some great set pieces in here, but I mean, I guess
we should probably discuss the tree rape. Let's just talk about it. A girl gets raped by a tree.
Yeah, which I didn't know was, I wish I hadn't, see, I don't like generally going on Letterboxd. There were some reviews of it, so I was just like, oh, I know everybody is going to have something to say. Let's see what they say. And then every fucking review mentioned this thing. So I was going into this movie, unfortunately, kind of already waiting for this thing to happen. And I would have rather it just kind of happened to me naturally. But, what are your thoughts on this thing? What on here are people, because people are just crazy about this fucking thing.
I could live without it. I kind of don't think there needs to be a sexual assault in this movie, but I do love the effect of the trees moving. And it's funny, like watching it, I was thinking like, I bet this is one Sam Raimi wishes he could have back.
Yeah.
But then watching Evil Dead 2, he kind of replicates it. And I was like,
yeah,
I
had
kind
the same
of felt
thought.
like good for Sam Raimi. Like he really owns his shit.
He doesn't care. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird, obviously it's a bizarre scene in the weirdest movie ever. But, I don't know. I didn't know what to think of it. I mean, it is very, very bizarre, and it's exploitative because it really does. It's clearly
what?
Exploitative.
Yeah.
Because not even, I mean, before the tree like penetrates her, we also have to see it like rip her shirt off and grab her naked breast. I mean, it's really fucked up. But in a movie that's so bizarre, it didn't hit me in the same way as a movie like The Last House on the Left, where I'm like repelled.
Well, I kind of don't understand when people say that about Last House on the Left, almost because they try to do a similar thing in that movie where like all the music is super like goofy and carnival like, and so it does make that part of it seem more dreamlike. The same thing works here, where like in a darker, grittier movie, a girl getting penetrated by a tree branch could be the most fucking horrifying thing you've ever seen. but
Right.
it just mixed in with this weirdness, with like the tree being stop motion and the soundtrack being like a series of weird chittering and giggles. Like it almost
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like a rape, even though technically
I
that's
know.
what's being shown.
I have to say, I know we might get shit for it, but I agree with you. I just think the atmosphere of the movie lessens the impact. I mean, this isn't Savage Streets where we see a deaf girl in a shower getting. I mean,
I love that
it's
scene.
fucked. I know it's it's fucked up, but it's so bizarre. It's like having a rape scene in Beetlejuice. I mean, it was just so bizarre that
Yeah, like
I-
look, if like they cut this out of the movie, I'm
Fine.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like whatever. But like I'm not mad that it's there.
I'm not really either.
Throw a a viewer worry. This could be triggering to the
ecological stability of trees in there.
yeah, to the dendrites among us. All right.
Well, it was just when I was reading about it. I mean, I'll just tell you, but I kept hearing tree rape. So I kept thinking, oh my God, there's going to be like a rape scene in Evil Dead. So I was thinking there's going to be a human to human rape scene. And so then this happened, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is very fucking weird, but I'm already in a universe that is fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
Oh.
really meant to titillate or disgust. It's played for laughs, and
Yeah.
one could argue that rape is not a subject that should be used for laughs. But like, I haven't never laughed at a rape joke.
it's a tree.
It sure is. Henry,
It's
what do you give The Evil Dead?
I'm giving this an absolute solid 4 stars.
I'm happy to hear it. That's also what I'll be giving it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had vacillated, like I said, throughout the movie. At the very beginning, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be tough. 2. Then almost throughout, I was like 3. And then I just said, no. This is fucking amazing. It's a 4. Not a 5, just because it becomes a little tedious and there's a lot of screaming and a lot of explosions of blood that just go on and on and on and on. But it's very cool. And I love the ending. He's walking out in the woods and you think he's in the clear.
Oh, yeah.
Classic way to end a movie. A fantastic ending. So
That is great, Henry. MVP is Campbell or Raimi, whoever you want. And LVP is, I don't know, the other characters.
well, I went specific. I tried to be specific. So I'm giving Bruce Campbell the MVP. And the LVP, since I had to choose, I'm going to go with Teresa York, who played Shelley. That's Scott's girlfriend.
I gotta say, thinking about the movie, she's the only character I cannot picture. So there must be something to that LVP.
She's clearly a brunette. I mean, I don't know. I was just thinking about the opening sequences and stuff. Her acting is just a little under the weather there. I mean, it's not that bad at all, but I had to pick out of
Oh,
5.
I don't mind her, actually. I'll go with Scott.
See, I wanted to give it to him, but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, like, I don't think he was that bad. Like, he sets up the goodness of Bruce Campbell.
But I only want to see one alpha male in my Evil Dead films.
Well, I think that there kind of was until Scott bites it. I mean, he's the alpha male.
Yeah, weirdly in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of dug that. But anyway,
Happy to hear it.
so your LVP is just Scott? Or
I'll
just
go
the
with
whole-
Scott. I'm gonna go with Scott.
All right. So here we go, folks. It's been an extremely long time. Enjoy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's right. There's only a count of one.
What,
And
Bruce Campbell in the Spider-Man movies?
almost got all right. So tell me though, in Spider-Man, who was he?
The ring announcer. You said it.
Who's he in Spider-Man 2?
I think I remember. Was he a French waiter?
He's the snooty usher who tells Tobey Maguire, tickets only. I remember that.
Right. Is he a French waiter in the third one?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm remembering.
Yes.
It's funny that I have better memories of Spider-Man 3 than Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I don't remember him in that at all, but I remember him very well in 2 and 1. He is also plays a character 3 episodes. He plays a character named Bill Church Jr. in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman.
I'm sure he fit right the fuck in on that show. Are you kidding me? Bruce Campbell opposite Dean Cain? Great.
Great stuff. And I love this. He plays Final Shemp in Darkman.
Oh, wow. The callback, a weird behind-the-scenes callback to Evil Dead. Yeah, I mean, I think, Raimi puts him in whatever he can, and Darkman's another superhero movie. He does.
I don't recall him being in A Simple Plan or The Gift, but...
He might have been. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'd have to go back and rewatch those movies, which I'm happy to do because they're both
Me too.
excellent.
Yeah.
I actually did rewatch Simple Plan last year,
I love
and
that movie.
held up great. Still love it.
Yeah, I've seen that movie multiple times. The Gift I've only seen once. I'd really like to see that again.
I've seen one part of The Gift many times.
Is that with that Katie actress?
Yeah. One or two of her.
She's bringing it home in that scene, right? She's bringing it home. She's bringing it home.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, Katie Holmes. She is in that film topless, and I did have that downloaded on like Kazaa or something. All right. You ready to talk about Evil Dead 2?
I am.
All right.
I
Now,
definitely am.
is it Evil Dead 2 with, Roman numeral 2? Is it Evil Dead 2 with the number 2? Is it Evil Dead 2 : Dead by Dawn? I've never fucking known, and it has always bothered me.
Yeah, it would. You don't like that stuff.
Mhm.
You're not a fan. Yeah, it's Evil Dead 2 to me with the numerical 2. It's how I've always.
That's
seen
how
it.
I wrote it too.
Yeah.
All right, Evil Dead 2 comes to us in 1987. All right. Now, in the days after the first Evil Dead, they were asked if they would like to sequelize the film, and they came up with the idea for Army of Darkness, and they wrote up some ideas about that and pitched it around. Nobody was all that interested. Then, after their second film, Crime Wave, came out, which they co-wrote with the Coen brothers, who Sam Raimi was living with at the time,
It's awesome.
in a house with Frances McDormand, Holly Hunter, and Kathy Bates as well.
I didn't know Holly Hunter and Kathy Bates were hanging around.
That's right.
Wow.
That's why Holly Hunter, you hear her voice like on the phone in Blood Simple.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, all of a sudden, if you listen real closely, it's like, "Hi, how's it going? I'm just leaving this phone message for somebody."
Sheriff's Department.
Yeah. All right. So they made this movie Crime Wave, and it really tanked. If you go and look at the box office for that year, it's like the third least amount of money any movie made.
Wow.
Yeah.
85 too. Okay.
So things were not looking good for Raimi. The Coen brothers still had Blood Simple in their pocket, and they were developing Raising Arizona, so they were okay. It didn't hurt them too much. But
Yeah.
that movie threatened Sam Raimi's ability to get funding for another movie. So basically, his manager at the time, who was the same guy who had discovered him at that Michigan screening all those years ago, he suggests, "I think you got to make another Evil Dead movie, dude."
And we didn't mention him the first time. I thought you were going to at that one point. But I think it has to be said, right? Did Stephen King played somewhat of a role here?
Yeah, definitely more. Well, Stephen King had their back on the first one, wrote up some nice things about it, but in the second one, he actually contributed to the movie getting made. So what they did was they revived that Army of Darkness idea and pitched it around, and they asked Stephen King, who was somebody who was a fan of Sam Raimi, and he went to Dino De Laurentiis, who he had been working with at the time on Maximum Overdrive, and asked him for if they could get funding. And De Laurentiis said, "I will give you $3.5 million if you make it similar to the first one.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
want you in like medieval times or whatever."
Yeah. Maximum Overdrive, by the way, great soundtrack.
And great movie.
Anyway, what's that?
And great film,
Great film, better soundtrack.
great truck with the Green Goblin.
Yeah, you know who did the soundtrack?
I know, it's fucking AC/DC.
I wanted you to say it.
I know you did.
I want you saying AC. It's fucking AC/DC is my ringtone.
I
It's fucking AC/DC. Who is it? Hi.
I saw that you watched some random AC/DC concert movie from like 2003 last night.
Yeah, I felt like having an uplifting, fun time, and it's great. It's like a club venue, very fucking rare and cool.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I get it. I've been rewatching The OC. I feel the same way.
Gotta get through the next, 48. I don't know how long.
2
who
months
knows?
at least. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So they get it made, and they make it a more similar film. But it's Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi co-writes it with a fellow by the name of Scott Spiegel. He's, another Michigan guy. He was involved in the making of the first one. He's written some other stuff, Henry. The Rookie with the Clint Eastwood movie. He went on to write that.
I loved that when I was a kid. I'm sure it's a complete piece of shit, but
Yeah.
I loved it when I was a kid.
He's also got a screenplay credit on From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money.
I passed on that one.
I remember when it came out though and wanting to see it. I remember
Really?
when
You
it came
read
out
it.
and being young and thinking like I really want to see that, but knowing it has to be really bad.
Yeah.
And like having an individual, like an inner struggle with myself. And ultimately I never saw it.
Yeah. I remember the first one when it came out. I had no fucking interest at all, and then I saw it like on Encore or HBO, and I fucking loved it. And I was like, "Holy shit, it's fucking great!"
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah. It should be said, Dino De Laurentiis, kind of an asshole. I just want to say that.
I mean, all of those big
I know, but
producers from the 80s.
if you watch him in like interviews, like he's on the tracks of like different interviewed in different special features of all kinds of movies. He's so pompous and thinks he's like, because they're not all like that.
He comes off like
Kathleen Kennedy is like this lovely person, and Frank Marshall and
You're right. I get, and Lauren Schuler Donner is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
hey, interesting. We mostly mentioned women there. But Dino De Laurentiis, yeah, you're right. He comes across in interviews like Harvey Weinstein used to before we learned that he was like a horrible piece of shit. So I mean, like, I wouldn't be shocked.
But I got to give credit to Raimi because he could have been one of those guys who is easily like, "Oh, you don't want to fucking do it in medieval times, and fuck you, I don't want to do it." And he's like, "Okay, fine. I just want to make Evil Dead 2. I need the money. Let's do it."
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he was rescuing his career. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I like that though. Raimi was doing what he needed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, Raimi was always kind of floundering until like Spider-Man.
Well, really?
I don't know. It was to me. It was always like up and down. Like, what's he gonna do next? I was always like rooting for him. Like he was like on the fringes of pop culture, and he never really had an out and out hit except kind of Darkman until Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess you're right because that fucking bait for love of the game, that shit came before.
Yeah, that tanked, and then Simple Plan did well, like with critics and awards and stuff, but no one really saw it.
You're right.
Yeah.
he found his cash cow and a perfect fit for him with the Spider-Man movies.
He did, man. And then he tried it again with that Oz movie. It didn't pan out quite as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's denounced that pretty much in interviews since.
No, I like when directors do that.
Oh, me too.
Doesn't happen
Especially
often.
when I agree with them.
Yeah.
This film was also, I gotta say, it was released March 13th, 1987, on a budget of $3.5 million. It ended up making $10.9 million, just enough to like get them going.
Jeez.
Came in at 102 at the box office between a film I've never heard of called Assassination. Do you know what that is? And on the other side of that is Cry Freedom, the Richard Attenborough epic with Denzel Washington as Steve Biko.
Yeah. I never
That
saw
one
that.
I know. It's okay.
Yeah.
Denzel's great in it as he is in things. Assassination. I'm looking it up right now. It's a Charles Bronson movie. I'd probably like it. He's a presidential bodyguard assigned to protect the First Lady, played by Jill Ireland.
That sounds awful.
Sounds great.
Isn't his wife Jill Ireland?
Yeah, probably. It's directed by Peter Hunt, the guy who directed Honor Majesty's Secret Service, bro.
Oh, you're in.
I'm in.
All the way in.
That's wild.
Honestly, dude, after Death Wish, I made decided I'm not a Bronson guy, so I'm fine.
I'm a Bronson guy, man. You know, I love him in those early ones, like Magnificent Seven. He's awesome in, and the other one. He's in Once Upon a Time in the West, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's just certain tough guys appeal to me. He's not one of them.
He's a good tough guy. Come on, we had fun with Death Wish.
I did. All I mean is that it wasn't for me like a great new discovery, and I went out and watched all his movies. He didn't do it.
Can we cover those Family of Cops movies someday?
Yeah, what is that?
He made like 3 of them right at the end of his career. They're like his last 3 movies. It's a franchise he was in called Family of Cops.
That sounds like that's a great title.
Incredible title.
Movie.
First of all, Blue Bloods was sitting right there. Somebody snatched it up years later.
Now, Family of Cops. So that means, I guess, the wife, the daughter, the son, the baby.
The baby's a cop for sure.
They're all cops.
Yeah.
If the baby is a cop, and the dog is obviously a canine.
Oh, he's got to be.
So if the baby is a cop, I'm in.
All right. Well, somebody let me know that's seen the Family of Cops franchise. Hey, if Baby Cop is all you need, then let's just cover the Cop and a Half franchise.
That's a kid.
I mean, he's pretty much a baby. Henry, this film was nominated for some Saturn Awards.
Well, we heard it. Yeah.
Okay. So Saturn is between Uranus and Neptune. Saturn Awards. Sci-fi best of this films.
Pretty good. Different key. You picked a different key.
I did what I could.
No, that was good. That was very, very good. Well done.
This film was nominated for the best horror film of the year.
Good.
And it lost to The Lost Boys, which is not as good.
Ugh.
Then it was also nominated for Best Makeup and Best Special Effects, but it lost both awards to RoboCop, previous episode.
Wow. Okay. I mean...
Understandable.
Yeah, understandable.
RoboCop did have a lot more money, though.
A fuckload more money.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, folks, if you love RoboCop and you don't own... I know people are cord cutters. They don't even own shit anymore. But if you do want to, dude, get the Blu-ray director's cut. The special features on there are amazing. Dan, you would love them. There's a whole section just interviewing the villains, the actors who played the villains. It's hysterical. It is so fucking funny the way they talk about Paul Verhoeven mostly. It's so fucking funny. Especially Kurtwood Smith and Miguel Ferrer.
Oh, they got Ferrer before he died. That's nice.
It's hilarious. Yeah. There's a whole thing where they talk about how he did not know that bitch was a pejorative term in the English language.
Sounds like him.
And they're in the scene where Ferrer has the hookers in his place, and when they're yelling action, Verhoeven's like, "Okay, this is good take. Tell the bitches to come in. The bitches can leave now. The bitches will sit. Bitches sit. Bitches leave."
Oh,
And
Paul,
Kurtwood Smith and
Jesus.
Ferrer are just dying in the corner, laughing, and Verhoeven just keeps saying it 1,000 times. Good stuff.
Great, great. All right, that's what you get from this show. Henry will recount RoboCop special features for you.
I want people to buy it.
All right, promoting DVDs from physical media from huge corporations here on the franchise.
From 1987, buy that Blu-ray director's cut,
Yeah, Blu-ray.
and
So
you get to see the arm blown off.
fantastic. Oh, right. So let's talk about Evil Dead 2, man.
Yeah, definitely.
You'd seen this one,
At that Halloween party.
and that's it.
Even after I saw High Fidelity and all that, and they talk about it, I thought the reference in the movie was funny. I knew what the movie was, but I had never seen it to my knowledge. I mean,
I gotta be honest. I might have seen this because of High Fidelity.
I wouldn't blame you if you did. You were 14 at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense that you're like, what is this fucking movie they're talking about?
I
And
know
for
I
me-
sought out The Prisoner because of High Fidelity.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I sought out that band that they're playing.
The
when
Beta
they-
Band? Yeah. I did too. I got into them after that.
But yeah, I so really only one viewing, and let's face it, it was Halloween. My buddies were there. We're all drinking. I probably wasn't paying much attention. I just remember not particularly being into it, and I knew for the show, which has been going on now for over 4 years, that we'd watch it. So I avoided it in the last, so an interesting experience. Now, the beginning of the movie, I was totally perplexed. I did not know. I even had a moment where I thought maybe I was watching it on Hulu, and I thought, wait, for a few seconds I was like, did they fuck up and put on I didn't know what was going on, and then I quickly semi figured it out. But how did this strike you over the years? What is going on for our viewers who don't know the movie?
Well, it's kind of the reason I haven't really watched the first one that much. And it's because I love this movie and the continuity doesn't really match up.
But
And-
in the weirdest way.
Well, I just feel like they didn't care necessarily. Like, in their minds, like, they were making this movie to save their careers. So, like, they weren't focusing on, like, the fans of the original. Like, they needed this to be accessible to all audiences.
It struck me as though, in certain ways, Raimi got the money and was like, all right, this is maybe what I really want to do with a little bit more money.
It
but
does, yeah. Taking
they
a
want it to
mulligan.
Exactly. But they want to call it Evil Dead 2. I'll say it's a sequel, but essentially I'm going to and I'll throw them a bone in the beginning, but I want to just kind of tell this again. I want to make it with two characters and then an archaeologist woman. You know what I mean? It seems like a soft reboot.
Yeah, and that's the reason I
Right.
was so put off by the 2013 remake when that came out and avoided it like the plague, because horror remakes at the best of times usually feel fairly unnecessary to me, and in this case, it was like Sam Raimi made this amazing movie, The Evil Dead, and then he got the opportunity to remake it and perfect it.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna make it again? Like, why?
And you didn't see the remake yet, right?
No.
Okay, I saw it. But I saw it because I didn't really have any reason not to. Because I hadn't, really seen these other two. But I totally get you. I mean, the only times we've really ever come across something where it's actually turns out well, right, was a pretty decent Halloween sequel with Jamie Lee Curtis that we covered on the show. But a remake, well, that's not a remake. Sorry,
Yeah.
Strike that comment. Strike that, Your Honor. Friday the 13th. That was a
Yeah, and
decent
most people don't
remake.
agree with us on that.
Yeah, and I don't get that because I think that's a very, very good horror movie and a good, solid remake. So, but yeah, you're right. For the most part, it's a bad idea, and you can't remake an individual mind like Sam Raimi. I mean,
He produced it though. I don't know. Sam Raimi's confusing to me sometimes.
oh, I didn't know he produced it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He like chose the director for it and all that.
Well, I won't say what I thought of the remake, obviously, till next week, and I rewatch it again. But anyway, yeah. So you get into this movie, you're just thrown in, and it's very strange, right? They're in a car together.
It's Bruce Campbell again, looking actually better than he did in the first one. He aged.
Yeah.
He filled out and
Yeah, his hair is back. It's like he's more. Well, also you got to remember, right? He filmed the first one in like 1981. So he's like, that's still that year of leftover 70s fashion and shit. So now he's like 6 years later or 5 or whatever.
I also think they're using his look and like designing him to be like an action movie hero in this in a way
Definitely.
that like in the first one he was just supposed to be like, I'm a college student.
Yeah. But they even call his girlfriend the same name.
I didn't even notice that, really.
It's Linda. So
Played by a different actress.
Yes, it made it very weird for me. I was like, what are we doing here?
That is weird. So he's driving to the cabin, seemingly for the first time.
Right.
With his girlfriend, no one else in tow. And they get out there, and they find all the same shit they found in the first one, but they do it much faster in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
It's right away.
Yeah.
I kept thinking he was going to say, I was still thinking he was going to say to her, like, yeah, I was here before. I once was here, or this looks familiar, or like some sort of.
I think the first time I saw this movie, I was expecting it to be a thing where he was gonna like wake up from a dream and realize he never left the cabin. He'd been there since the first movie.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
I think that's actually.
I'm gonna pitch it. Yeah,
I like that idea. That would be scary, and that's cool. And that normally wouldn't sound like something that would be that original, but I think for this context, it would work.
They did it on the X-Files once. All right. Okay. So, yeah, he takes the girlfriend up there. They find the tape and everything, all the shit, and then the dead start attacking the cabin like right away. And then you're in it.
But like in the first one, there's weird shit happening before they even do the incantation, which we never mentioned.
Oh yeah, I like the thing with the door slamming or the what is it, like the porch swing. Yeah, and just like suddenly stopping when they get up to the swing. That's actually a pretty good effect in the first one.
It is. And they do a similar thing here. There's already weird shit happening. So the incantation's just kind of, I guess, awakening what's dormant. But, yeah, and then we cut. I was not expecting a cut to an airport.
That's right, yeah. There's a subplot in this film.
Yeah, with... I thought a pretty good performance by that actress as the daughter of the archaeologist.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good too.
And a very bad, ugly man as her companion.
Yeah, he wasn't great.
My LVP.
But then we meet that dude's like wife, right? He's got like a southern. Oh, no, this is a different guy. They come across like a couple of hillbillies in the woods.
Which could have been so bad.
But I actually like both of them.
So did I. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
That never goes right in movies. They never pull it off well, ever. And it's fucking great.
I did think that it was weird that the most attractive woman in the movie was the hillbilly girl.
Yes.
And then I looked up and to see what else she's done, Henry.
Mm-hmm. Playboy covers?
No, listen to this shit.
Uh-oh.
No, this is wild. She has been on the soap opera One Life. No, she was on One Life to Live, the soap opera, from 1992 to 2013.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
One of those soap characters
Yeah.
who literally you watch grow with you in life.
And then after One Life to Live wrapped up, because it got canceled in 2013, she just moved over to Days of Our Lives, and she's still on it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's got to be a sweet gig, man.
What a life!
You're not gonna make it in movies. You got this steady gig, a nice paycheck. You're doing shitty television, and you don't even care. That's your living.
According to IMDb, she's also a leukemia survivor.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. I actually liked the female archaeologist. I thought she was cool. I thought she was attractive and had very brainy, like in a good, like not in like a way where she's beautiful and they're trying to make her brainy. She actually comes across as smart.
Yeah, I've
in a
always
horror
liked her.
movie.
I've always liked her in this movie. The actress's name is Sarah Berry, and she's never been in anything else. She like shows up in Bud the Chud, and that's it.
Okay. Well, I thought she was really good.
Yeah, no. She's sort of the audience POV almost of the movie. She's the only one really with an objective, because we're cutting back to Bruce Campbell mostly in the cabin, like just fighting for his life and trying to survive in the craziest ways imaginable. And she is looking for her parents, which actually has some stakes.
I was just going to say it has some stakes. And Bruce loses his girlfriend like immediately.
Yeah,
I
instantly.
did not think that was coming. I was like, oh my. But I love that, because then I was like, well, what am I in for? Before they cut to the airport, I was like, am I in for Bruce Campbell alone in that cabin? Which
yes.
I was down for. I was down for that. I was like, that's fucking bold.
And that's what you are, but that's what you are in for a good while.
Oh yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
like 40 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
of this very short movie. And I think it's masterful. Like it makes so much sense to have a couple trying to survive, like an evil horde in a cabin in the woods. Like you've seen that shit before.
Yeah.
But like the idea that you'd kill off the only other character instantly and have it be this one man, like that's sort of fascinating. And
it is.
And Bruce Campbell really brings it. I mean,
It's unreal.
I think he's incredible in this movie.
I agree. I was thinking during the movie that like the shit he goes through in this movie, because it's all real. I mean, all that shit. He looks exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
In the first one too, we didn't even bring that up. I mean, the shitty conditions of the first one, they're all fucking dying and starvation and thirst, and
Raimi in the first one, apparently he had this thing like, well, we're making a horror movie, so I want to like treat my cast like shitty, like so they're horrified all the time. And like some of the shots, like he said, like there's one shot of like Bruce Campbell's like mangled leg in the woods, and it's like Bruce Campbell just like cut his leg in the woods one day, and he let Sam Raimi fuck around with the cut to make it look worse.
He's willing to get gangrene for his craft.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking nuts, man. And Bruce Campbell is a force to be reckoned with in this movie. I mean, that's why it's just kind of amazing that he didn't become more. I mean, he's holding very, it's
He's
87.
just so very, very specific.
He is, but it's 1987. He's holding the screen like a motherfucker. I mean, it's just like a powerhouse. It's crazy.
Didn't he have some roles in the 90s? I feel like I saw Bruce Campbell like third build in some stuff in the 90s.
Oh, I don't know. He could have, but I mean, I'm sure they're.
Oh well, he also had Briscoe County Jr. for a little while.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's around. He shows up in Escape from L.A. He's in Congo. Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
He was in the Hudsucker Proxy. He's very funny in that.
That's cool. I didn't know any of that. All right, yeah, but I mean, I remember him the only time in my entire life.
Oh, and Maniac Cop. Have you ever seen Maniac Cop?
Oh,
That's really good, and he has a big role in that.
That's a franchise too, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I do remember. I'll share a specific memory. I do remember when I was like, I don't know, 8th grade. seeing previews in the theater for Army of Darkness and not knowing who the fuck this guy was. Like,
Same, by the way. Yeah, I remember there were ads for Army of Darkness in comic books, and I remember thinking it just looked like a crazy, silly movie.
Yeah. And
it looked like a comedy.
But he is like as I recall, he's on the poster, like
holding a chainsaw with his shirt torn open, like he's fucking, Atlas or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But anyway, yeah, his performance in Evil Dead 2 is something to behold. I can't say I've ever seen it repeated.
His hand gets possessed, and he first has to do this performance where his hand is menacing him for a really long time on his body.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And by the way, I have to also say the other secret star of this movie is the sound design.
Yes, and a special mention in the first movie to the score.
Yeah, the score's pretty cool.
It's really good because it's like this very traditional. It struck me the first movie. The score is extremely traditional Hollywood. It's like got strings and
it has like crescendos and shit.
Yeah, it's not off the wall at all. But it's excellent and makes the movie weirder. And in this movie, you're right too. The sound design, my lord. I mean, these guys are like a Star Wars level sound design.
It's like a mad genius kind of a thing. Yeah. Like, I don't know how they came up with it. I don't know why they chose to make the evil, like the ancient evil, so childlike and occasionally insect-like. And
yeah,
I mean,
like a monkey screech at one point. Clearly,
it's or like a swarm of locusts at times. it's really wild shit. Like,
yeah,
it's so rare to watch a movie and just movies that everything gets made a million times.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. I love shit like that. Give me a good legal I just watched like the Trial of the Chicago 7. Yeah, I've seen a trillion movies like that, but it's pretty satisfying.
It was 3 stars.
Yeah, totally.
No, but you know what it is too? It's the effort. The fucking effort that you had to put in back then. You didn't have shit to rely on where you just had a sound guy who could sit in a comfy studio with some digital shit to throw in. Like, these guys are probably out on highways collecting sounds and, getting sounds from the zoo and using shitty tape recorders and analog. And it's just the effort that goes in. It's wonderful.
There's also some kind of an ineffable cool to this movie that I just think it's just on the surface. It's alluring. I remember, the only thing I could think of in recent years was when I saw the Drive trailer for the first time, thinking, that looks like a cool movie.
I never had seen the Drive trailer. My GF at the time just took me to that movie out of the blue. I did not have anything going in. So I never saw the trailer. So the trailer was
amazing. Yeah, they play the song and you see the jacket and there's a pink neon aesthetic and you're like, they've got something going on here.
Yeah. I do want to mention too that the camera work in this movie is amazing. Probably my favorite shot. It's incredible.
It might be the one I wanted to bring up. Go ahead.
Well, it's an incredible tracking shot that literally follows him. He's running away from the unseen force, which I like. Yeah, which I like too. They really don't. They show you at the end, but you don't know if that's what's following him. He goes through the house, around the kitchen, into a closet, out of a closet, through the. I mean, the shot is seamless. It's messy, but it's seamless. I guess it's one take. If it is, the choreography of it is staggering.
I don't know how they did some of the shit because Campbell is consistently in the shot running away from the camera. The camera is moving in POV. It seems to be moving at an extraordinarily high speed. It's moving through things. There's one where it chases Campbell through the house and Campbell runs through 3 doors. And the first door, the invisible force manages to open. The second, the invisible force bursts through. Or like it pushes the door down off its hinges. And then the third door, it just shatters the fucking door. Like it's getting stronger and faster as it moves through the house.
Think
and
of that.
Campbell is like is in the thing's sights at all times. Like it's a magic trick.
Yeah.
Like I still don't know how the fuck they did it, and I kind of don't want to. It's one of those things like I don't want to watch the Evil Dead 2 special features. It is an insane achievement that has never been remotely replicated. The camera work in this movie, I think, is strong enough that it should have won like a fucking special Oscar or something.
Yeah, I agree. It's really unreal, and not just because it's low budget. It's just impressive anyway.
It's incredibly impressive that it was done on a low budget. I mean, that makes it even more impossible to understand how they did it. Because I feel like when you see something like this done in a big budget movie, you could kind of in your head think like, wow, that must have cost a lot. But like, it didn't here. And so it's like, then how did they do it?
You know, when he's running through the house, there's a guy standing behind the door with strings ready to pull it down at the exact moment.
I guess, but then like, how is that not seen on film? And how is Bruce staying in the shot? It is insane.
It really is, and so that was your favorite shot, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I adored that shot, but I mean, you're right. It is a huge achievement. The POV camera shots in the first one, I had never seen anything like that beforehand, and it is a huge highlight of the first one. And they managed to improve it and make it bigger and more ambitious in the second one. And it's mind blowing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I certainly wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to think about that when I watched this movie. I wasn't expecting to like bring attention to a camera shot that was like that. When it happened, I was like, it almost starts happening so fast that I noticed it while it was happening, but not at first. I was like, holy shit. Wow. Like that was amazing. Like that's not supposed to be in this type of movie. And then it happens and it's really cool, you know.
This is also one of the funniest movies ever made.
So, yeah, it's funny. But that's where some of it for me, I'm not on other people's wavelength. I think there's some great stuff, but like the hand detaching and then hiding in the wall and all that kind of shit. His lines are always funny. The way he delivers line, I love it. Mm-hmm. Certain things are just, the length of gags is very long for me. I do think
to me that's impressive.
Yeah, but it is impressive, and I know that's the point. But I liked it when they were like kind of dispersed a little better, like when they bring in the archaeologist to the house and they have her, you know, they show her parents, they show her mother, you know,
Henrietta, played by Sam Raimi's brother Ted.
It's fantastic. I read that. Yeah. Like that stuff's great.
I had an action figure of Henrietta.
Ugh.
Yeah.
God, you wanted to look at that fucking thing?
It was just cool. I saw.
No, that is cool.
It was when I worked at Midtown Comics. They had it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I've probably seen it. We were living together when you worked at Midtown Comics.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I think it was in that apartment. Yeah.
I don't know. All right.
Oh, no. It was when I was living with. Yeah, after. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to detract though because it's not the kind of thing where I think it's a fault of the movie. I just think for my enjoyment, it was just like I said about the first movie. There are things in the movie that just do go on a long time, and some of that stuff in this, it's taken obviously to the max. I know that, and it didn't always work for me, but I know it worked for everybody else, and he's not doing anything wrong. You know, it just, the first one is almost more of a straight up horror movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is definitely, obviously, this one is a fucking comedy horror. and not all of it worked for me. Most of it did.
I did want to talk about the hand thing, because that's my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, it's not mine.
When he gets knocked out on the ground and the hand is still crawling, dragging his body along,
I forgot about that. That's awesome.
that
Yeah.
fucking rules. And
That's yeah.
and then he gets in this huge fucking fight with his hand, and he cuts it off of himself, and there's that great scene of him like gleefully like laughing because he's getting the upper hand on his enemy while his enemy is his own hand that he's cutting off.
Yeah, and I mean it's badass. Also, another cool cut in the movie, which I didn't expect. It's very 90s. It's like way ahead of its time. When he puts the chainsaw on him, the way they cut it, it's like different.
Oh
cuts.
yeah.
I mean, I was like, whoa, that's like, they still do shit like that now. Like, that's how Iron Man puts his suit on. And it's just like very ahead of its time. It's just like, it makes it look like it's high tech, and it's totally not. It's just him taping a chainsaw. But I love that. You know, that was very, very cool too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He eventually does get a plug-in on his stump, so he can plug the chainsaw. Not in this movie, but eventually.
That was a battery-powered chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has it rigged, so he just pulls his elbow up so it starts.
Yeah, yes, I fucking love that. How he's able to like reload the chainsaw.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the shotgun in the back with a holster. It's hilarious. I mean, it is very fun. It's funnier when I'm talking about it with you than it even is when I was watching it. So, you know.
I also love the way they set up Army of Darkness early in the movie, if we can go back to talking about this as a franchise, where, you know, he finds like a drawing of like a prophecy of a man in the Middle Ages who was like prophesied to like stop the demon horde. And Bruce Campbell takes one look at the picture, which is clearly him in the picture. He's even wearing the shirt that he's wearing. And he goes like, well, I guess that guy didn't do such a good job or something.
That was great. See, I love that shit. Yeah, that was great. I guess I'm talking more about like the gaggy stuff, like the zombie, his girlfriend dancing with the hat. It was a lot of. I just don't know if that stuff worked for me. I mean,
They're having a lot of fun.
they're a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
it's great. It just, I'm kind of waiting for it. Like, I wasn't particularly laughing. I was just kind of like, okay, all right. That's a cool
Yeah.
effect. Like, that's a cool effect. And, you know.
You take note and move on, but you have to wait for it to be over. I get it. I feel that way about certain movies.
Dance number to be done, but yeah.
What do you give this movie?
I'm giving it 4.
This is a
Yeah.
5, Henry. This is a Stone Cold
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, I'm very close to a 5.
I'm very pleased you're giving it a 4. By the way, like I had no definite going into this podcast that you'd even enjoy these movies, so
Yeah,
I'm fine.
I was very happy that I did, because honestly, I wasn't either. I was a little worried. I was like, oh boy, this might be real hard slog for me, but I'm in. I love it. I can't wait to watch Army of Darkness.
Also,
So-
by the way, we just got through watching the Conjuring movies, which I complained got boring because there was too much throwing people around. There's a lot of throwing people around in these movies, and it's very fun. It's just shot in a
Right.
fun, silly way. When the hillbilly girl, Bobby Joe is her name, she gets thrown against that tree, like really deep in the forest, like that rules.
It also rules when they throw the hillbilly like 1,000 yards at steam rolling head
Yes.
to a tree, and then he's totally fine. He shows up at the house like, there's something out there, we gotta go. I was like, I thought he was dead.
Well, it is a movie that kind of uses cartoon physics, which I feel like live action shit does all the time now,
Yeah.
and
but
wasn't that
movie-
prevalent.
That's right, but this is a movie that can pull that off, where it's so ridiculous that you don't even, like, that thought went into my head for a second. I was like, oh, he's alive. And then I moved on. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
movies today where it's like, oh, he he's got brain damage or
Well,
something.
yeah, a lot of movies like something like that happens, and you're stuck to think about the logic problems of the movie. And the fun of Evil Dead 2 is that if you stop for a second and ask yourself the question, "How was that possible?" The answer is simply because you're watching Evil Dead 2.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
No logic needed.
It's an
Yeah.
MVP. It's a 5-star. My MVP is Bruce Campbell's hand, and my
Okay.
LVP. I mean, what even is that in this movie?
I had one. My LVP was easy. It's the male professor.
Oh, you're right. It is that guy. He is the weak link of the cast. You're right.
He sucks. My MVP, I didn't mean to be unoriginal, but he really is coming into his own here, and it's my first time with him. So it's Bruce Campbell again for an unbelievable performance. I mean, technical credits all around are MVP here, but it's Campbell. And I got one superhero. So this superhero is Dan Hicks.
Ooh, who's that?
It's the hillbilly, Jake.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, he's an actor who's still working. He's in tons of. Oh, excuse me. He died this year, but he was still working up until then.
He had stage 4 cancer. And
Yeah,
he died.
apparently, poor bastard. But a very fine face that you would see and stuff.
Yeah, so he was he played a character named Skip in Darkman. In Spider-Man and in Spider-Man 2,
Mm-hmm.
he was a train passenger. So I assume in the subway
The
sequence.
Jesus scene.
Exactly.
The scene
Yeah.
where New York comes together and it's like, Spider-Man's one of us. You don't
Right.
mess with New York. We got through 9/11 and we sure as hell aren't gonna let you kill Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good scene.
That's a great
Good.
scene.
That was so animated. Wow. All right. Woo. Yeah, folks.
classic
we did
stuff.
it.
Hey, he showed up in Oz the Great and Powerful too. I guess he was pals with old Sam.
Oh yeah, he was in Maniac Cop too.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, so everybody got along with that guy. All
Yeah.
right. So H-Dog, what a fun time this was.